It's the Black Real Estate Dialogue. Tune in. Tune in. Tune in. Tune in.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Black Real Estate Dialogue podcast. Before we get into this episode, if you haven't already, please don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating and review. Also, subscribe on whichever platforms you're listening to this on. I'm shouting out all 5-star reviews on the show. We got quite a few lately, so definitely make sure you're included as well. Also, if you want to join the Bread investing community, you can get started for just $1. Go to blackrealestatedialogue.com or click the link below in the show notes. Very excited about this episode today. Here with me, I have DC Casey out of LA. DC, thank you so much for joining the show. Really appreciate you tonight.
Absolutely, man. It's good to be here.
Definitely. So first, to start off, tell the people who you are, what you do, and all that good stuff.
Sure. So let me start out by saying I'm a husband and father of 3 kids, just in case my wife listens to this. I'm a REI Remodel Specialist, investor. I'm now an author, and I'm also a board member of a real estate investment firm.
Awesome. So how did you get into the real estate business? And before we get into that, tell us about what it was like growing up and what you saw, maybe what you didn't see that ultimately shaped your view of like what it means to build wealth.
Oh, man. My childhood, I was definitely blessed. My grandfather was a businessman. I actually learned or saw the real estate game from him. He was a contractor, a developer, also built a lot of investment properties. So I kind of grew up around it, hanging around it. My father was a contractor as well, had some investment properties, but I really, hung around my grandfather like growing up. My dad was off working all the time. Didn't see him much, but my grandfather was retired, and in my family, we have entrepreneurs and educators. And so I grew up only thinking I could be an entrepreneur, almost to a detriment. I'm not gonna even lie, right? So that helped me have the big head a little bit. And, I had a humbling story there. We might get into that, but that was my childhood, my upbringing.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. And so a couple of things you mentioned that I think are awesome is that you thought all you could be was an entrepreneur. I
thought that was normal. I thought that was normal. Yeah.
So you mentioned also to your detriment. Tell me about that.
Yes. So early age, I got my contractor's license here in California, and I worked predominantly with investors flipping properties. And so let's say we flipped about over 80 properties in about 2 years, me and my team. And,
wow.
I'm the man, right? 80 houses in 2 years. And so I always had a desire to go to Texas. I was back and forth Texas. I have family in Texas. Just loved it, right? Cost of living and everything. So I actually had plans, my wife and I, before we had any children, to just pick up and go to Texas. This is the middle of a thriving business. Even before I moved, my grandfather was going to give me a duplex, one of his duplexes. But I told him, Grandpa, I'm going to Texas to flip houses. Thanks, but we're going to hit the road, right? And so in Texas, keep in mind, I flipped 80 houses, right? 80 houses.
Yeah.
And the first house that I got in Texas, I completely bombed. I lost everything on that house, right? So I call that my humbling house. And man, even thinking about it right now, it's still so fresh in my head right now. That house brought me down to my knees. My wife, even, she had a feeling about this house. She said, you know what, I don't think that we should buy the house. I don't know what this feeling is coming from. I think we should pass. Yeah. Of course, with me, newly married and everything, married for about 2 years. And I told her, well, look at the numbers, look at the facts and the figures. Man, we're gonna make money on this house. We're gonna kill it on this house. And don't forget, I remodeled 80 houses, right? I know what I'm doing, right? And I come to find out that there were wires that were just ripped underneath the house. Rats ate wires in the walls. There were some pipes busting the walls. I mean, how could we see through the walls, right? There was nests in the HVAC, so it ended up turning out to be such a huge nightmare that we didn't even anticipate, right? And the workers that were supposed to be in place, they were not in place. Everything was a complete debacle, right? I'm sorry, man. Where's mommy at? You guys gonna go? So this house that kind of just brought me down to my knees, I actually ended up spending 80 hours, sometimes 100-hour weeks, sleeping 3 hours in my truck just to get it done. And really because I didn't have a team, I didn't have a network. And that was my downfall with that project. I was going through so many workers, even the licensed contractors I was hiring. Let's say the float shower pan, it failed inspection. So I'm in there now troubleshooting, getting books to read the books to figure out how to build this shower pan to pass. And so I learned a lot of those things, learned a lot of those things on this house. But what I really found out was that I need a network, I need a team. It wasn't me. It was the network and the team of people that I built, realtors, contractors, of course, the guys that worked with me before. That was years in the making. I mean, some of these guys just knew one trade. They knew how to lay tile or they knew how to lay brick. And by the time I moved, man, we could do the whole process. These workers can do the whole thing from the ground up. So that house humbled me, brought me down to my knees. I was on my knees like, oh God, like what's the point of even making money if this is how I'm going to get it? And it really just humbled me. And it was probably the best experience of my life at that time. It was very expensive. Lots, a ton of money, a lot of money. And that's the best way I learned, honestly. You hit that pocketbook and I'm all ears, right? But good news after that. So we invested in another property after that. I had the team, the network, all the contractors, a good realtor, and we sold a house. We worked on it for about 6 weeks. Put on the market, it was on the market for about 2 weeks. It closed, regular closing process, and we netted about 50K on it in Texas. So that was my story, and that's where my experience comes from, and what I call the REI remodel process. That's why I call myself an REI remodel specialist.
Right.
Is because I've created this process that I've used on my own business. I've used working for large multinational investment firms as an asset manager, that you have something to plug and play.
Definitely. Yeah, I definitely want to talk a little bit more about the family background as well. So it's definitely, I appreciate you diving into the fact that you thought you could be an entrepreneur to your detriment, because a lot of times people don't think about that side of it, right? Obviously, there's a lot of positives, but it can also go in a different direction. And it seemed like at that time you had the skills and everything to replicate the success of flipping 80 houses and so forth in another state, but it seemed like you just didn't have the team in place. You probably felt like since you did the 80 houses, you could figure out you can make it happen. And you learned some expensive lessons. So I think it's great that you shared that perspective. And so I would love to hear more about, you mentioned like your dad and your grandfather, they were kind of in the real estate business, contractors, investors. When you were a kid, did you ever like go along the jobs or go to the properties and stuff?
Oh man, all the time. I was hanging drywall at 12 years old.
Wow.
Pictures of me at 3 years old, actually. So my grandfather, he was building one of his residences. There's a picture of me 3 years old on the job site, just walking in. My grandpa's in the background. And wow. I just saw a picture a few years ago. My grandfather is passed, and I was in Texas when he passed, and come back to California. My mom said, "Did you see that picture?" I'm like, "No, what picture?" And she showed it to me. I'm like, "Wow, this is really ingrained in my blood for sure." Even with my father, I actually worked for my father for a while. He specialized in mostly commercial properties. He built churches and restaurants, those type of things, and I was a foreman for him for a while. Was really able to learn these skills at an early age, which helped me get into the game at an early age, and definitely make my my failures at an early age also, which is a blessing for sure.
Definitely. That's amazing. Then was your family mostly have properties like in the LA area or different areas?
Yes, yeah, mostly in the LA area. My grandfather was from Texas also. So we had some property and stuff in Texas, but mostly in California.
Got it. So it seems like you were raised in this industry. And so obviously at a certain point you become an adult, right? Yeah. And so take us take us to that point, and it's time for you to decide for yourself what you want to do. Which direction did you go in? Like, how did you proceed?
Well, first of all, I was going to be a dentist, right?
Yeah.
So in high school, you have to pick what you want to be. And so me being all about the money, at the time, I looked to see what you could make money relatively easy. And I thought, hey, as a dentist, you make six figures being a dentist. Let me go do it. So in high school, I actually went to my dentist and asked him, hey, can I do an internship with you? Just to, this is what I want to do. He said, sure. So I ended up doing it for 6 months and was bored out of my mind. Thank God for you dentists. But for me, I got to be in the streets. I have to be able to get up, and that's just how I was raised, what I was around. You know what I mean? So that didn't work out. And I just kind of was, flailing a little bit. So what I did is I just started getting jobs. People would ask me if I could do this work, and I'd say yes, even though I couldn't. I go study it, read books. Google wasn't so hot at the time, not like it is now, but I really get books, read books, look for videos online, teach me how to do it. And that's how I kind of built the skill, as well as, come on, man, I grew up around subcontractors, the guys that specialize in drywall, specialized in tile, and still knew them as I grew up, and still know a lot of them today. There's still some of my contractors, subcontractors, and eventually got my contractor's license and just took off from there. So and then I got to a point to where construction is so consuming, especially when I start having a family. I'm working 6 days a week. When I'm working with investors, I help them lease the places out also. So I kind of do the front end. I inspect it before they buy it. We buy it, rehab it, and help get renters in there at the time. And it was sometimes 7 days a week, on Sundays getting calls, and just started getting tired of it. And tired of the babysitting. I had a good group of guys, but really, if it's not your main thing, they drift a little bit. And so they were off doing this. I have to babysit, I have to go behind if something's not working right. And it just got a little overwhelming for me at the moment. And I just decided to start looking into real estate investing. So that's how I ended up going to Texas. I just started listening to podcasts. I think at the time there were like 2 real estate podcasts on.
Wow.
And I started listening to podcasts. I started reading more just about real estate investing, and just moved to Texas and did it. Yeah. And then from there, after my first failure, I didn't know that you could fail, honestly. Just to be honest with you, everything I touched, I thought turned to gold, and I thought that I could not fail. And when I failed, it was a very humbling experience for me. Not just failing, but really losing all the money I worked so hard for. I lost a ton of money, right? And that kind of brought me down a little bit. I kind of got into doldrums and was just second thinking myself about entrepreneurship. Am I made for this? All that type of stuff. Not knowing that is a critical step in success for all successful entrepreneurs, not even knowing that at the time. So I went to work for other companies, which was very good for me. I saw how large corporations did it, and I saw how it's not that much different. It's just at scale. It is not that much different. And so I worked for a national construction company as a superintendent, as a project manager, and dabbled in real estate, dabbled in construction, just roaming, just trying to find myself. And and then I got the job with the national real estate investment firm back here in California. And we've been back and forth to Texas a couple times, back and forth to Texas and to California. I got a job for as an asset manager. And so I found properties, acquired properties, auction, off market, from wholesalers, whatnot, relocated tenants or occupants, remodeled and listed the houses, properties for this company, and did that in California and Texas. And eventually just left. Because we wanted to move back to California. My mother-in-law passed away, unfortunately. So we wanted to go back to California, and got a job as a director of operations for a construction firm in California, and did that for a while. And entrepreneurship just calls me, man. It calls me. It's risky, it's tough, it's dangerous, but it calls me, and that's what I was made for, right? So I have to do what I'm made for. And last year was kind of like a shifting year for us. We're just shifting, and God definitely providing for us every step of the way. Excellent investment deals. For instance, I'll give you an example. I know this investor that had a house in Chatsworth, and a 14,000 square foot lot, and he sold it to us. He foreclosed on it recently, and there's supposedly a guy in there that grew pot and things like that. And he actually sold it to me for $25,000.
Wait, $25,000 in LA County? Did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
That's for a 14,000 square foot
lot. Right. It's right between was it townhomes and a school, right? Oh. Townhomes and a school. So you would think you'd do some commercial stuff there too, different possibilities there. And he was just done with it. He had a second, actually. Yeah, he had the loan on second foreclosed. So there's still a first. But, we took a risk and $25,000 for a house in Chatsworth. Let's go for it, right? And he was a friend, and he knew us and all that type of stuff. So he was like, I just don't want to deal with this. I want to focus on other stuff here. Just take it, basically. And we actually sold that house with a tenant in it during, the whole COVID, all this type of stuff going on. A tenant was in there, or an owner. I had to make sure we said that. And we sold it for about 118,000. And to cover the first also. So the first was covered, which is about 400 and something thousand. And in our pockets, we got 118. So this past year, man, we did a lot of stuff that was just out of the ordinary, right? And really building these different platforms. And that's the reason why I do what I do, especially the REI remodel process and everything, is because I see a lot of investors that, you make your money when you buy. You make your money when you buy, but you can easily lose it when you remodel. And they don't really know that. And sometimes, like you said before, it's a gray area. The remodel, we have it, now what? Not knowing that they're contractors. Contractors are difficult to work with. Contractors, they have budgets, you have schedules. And if you want to do this to scale, you need a process.
Right.
Or else you're going to lose money.
Definitely.
Yeah. I know it's all over the place there.
No, you're good. It's
been a journey. It's been a journey.
You're good. No worries. So talk to us about the REI remodel process.
Yeah, so it's basically a process that I created off of trial and error, off of my own mistakes, my own properties, but also working for these billion-dollar company whose major problem was a remodel. So I worked there for about 6 months, and they started having me train people on my process. And it basically just walks you step by step through each step of the remodel, from acquiring what you should do for inspecting, creating scope sheets, all that type of stuff, all the way through listing it as well. So managing it and then listing it. How do you list it? What do you have to concern yourself with after you list it? It's not just done until you sell it, right? So that's the whole process. And also I have a, if you don't mind me sharing,
yeah,
I have a checklist I call the REI Remodel Checklist. You can get it at reiremodel.com/forms. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can get that checklist for free.
All right, awesome. So could we dive a bit into, so I know the first aspect is finding and vetting contractors. And, the thing is, like, everybody has the horror stories, right? It seems like, at least according to the internet, it seems like you have a really great experience or you have a terrible experience. What are some tips you would give to someone as far, just I guess at a high level, finding and vetting contractors? Because it seems to be a big difficulty for a lot of people.
It is. So I'd say never stop. First of all, my philosophy is to have 3 contractors for every trade. I like that. Even with contractors that have been with me for years, I still have backups because life happens. and we still have jobs to do. We still have a project that we need to complete, even if life does happen, right? So I'd say where to find it. I start with that. So where do we find good contractors? And of course, I'm gonna say referrals. Friends, family, definitely a real estate investment group. There's one probably in your city or nearby. A great source, especially for contractors that have already worked for investors and that probably already know investor pricing, which is a good thing too, right? We need that discount. We need, that reciprocal. We're going to give them more jobs for premium prices, not premium prices, but good prices are earned, right? And so what I also do is, vet them. So let me backtrack real quick. So where can you find good contractors? Referrals, also Home Depot, maybe not in the parking lot, but contractors go there in the morning, see the contractors where they're picking up materials, how they carry themselves. Low key stalk them a little bit, see how they talk and how they're discussing their jobs, things like that. Of course, websites like Angie, those type of sites are good to call, get some contractors. I'd say even your local building department. If they can't give you referrals, there's contractors that are getting permits. Those are licensed contractors. And I do suggest using licensed contractors if you're new. If you're just starting out, use licensed contractors, get stuff inspected, and keep those contractors accountable. Other hand, you might have a good handyman if you're experienced. In my experience, investors know you have a good handyman or something that you can handle. Where else? Let me look. Building safety, supply stores, flooring stores, all those type of things are pretty good to find them. Even, hey, I found some contractors just on the street, like driving around, seeing a guy working on a house, go in and say, hey, let me check out your work. It looks good. Let me get your number. I've done that several times as well. And once you find them, then you want to vet them. So you want to ask them questions. I'm not going to go over all the questions, but ask them questions like, hey, what's the time frame of completing this project? What's your average time frame? Have you worked on investment properties? What's your starting time? What's your ending time? How many dedicated workers are you going to have working on my project? Sometimes, they try to get the jobs and then they have several jobs with like 2 workers, right? Mm-hmm. Questions like that.
Got it.
Are you looking for a community of like-minded individuals and access to experts in real estate?
Yeah.
Are you interested in real estate but need more support and guidance?
You know who it is?
The Black Real Estate Dialogue presents the Real Estate Investing Community. No matter how much or how little real estate experience you have, we've created a community for you because your perspective is important. All right, tell me, where's the #1 place where you can do Q&A with experienced guest speakers 2 times per month? How about unlimited access to past guest speakers' recordings? What about a private Slack channel to engage in daily discussion with everybody in the community to share resources and support each other? Head on over to blackrealestatedialogue.com. That's blackrealestatedialogue.com. It's the real estate investing community presented by the Black Real Estate Dialogue. Come join us today.
Yeah. And so in terms of managing contractors, a struggle a lot of people have is stuff not getting done on time, right? I've experienced it, like everybody experienced it. And what I realized is for newer investors, it's very easy to be kind of timid and let them take control and dictate things. And we've heard plenty of stories, right? Like this is how a lot of people have been taken advantage of. So how do you draw the line between, all right, this is the schedule, this is what we agreed on, this is what we need to do, and allowing room for when things happen?
Yes. So I say from the very beginning, like establish that authority. A contractor will take advantage of you if he or she can, right? So definitely establish that authority from the beginning. I'd like to produce my own scope sheet, and that's basically, hey, this is the work that I want you to do. And we get that scope sheet off doing an inspection. So we know, we go through what needs to be repaired, what are the upgrades we want to do. and then give that to each of your contractors so you have apple to apple pricing. But also, so they don't get any fancy ideas. Say, oh, well, all this needs to be done. All this needs to be done. You're like, no, no, no. I'm the investor. This is my property. I know what I want, and that's what I want, right? But then also knowing what you want for sure, right? So that's what the inspections for, all that type of stuff is to know, have a game plan before talking to a contractor, what you want to do with that property. Don't use the contractor to help you come up with a strategy on your investment property. A contractor that knows nothing about investing, don't use them for that. Where am I at? So, man, I just lost my train of thought there, right?
No, you're good. You're good. No, you're good. We were talking about management. I feel like you shared a good bit on that. And the next thing is, so something else that I'm sure you've seen and perhaps you've experienced, some people go into a rehab project, they may have barely enough money to get to the finish line and not accounting for when things don't go wrong. Well, not accounting for when things go wrong, where you might go over budget or things of that nature. What's your recommendation as far as that? Like, how can someone prevent themselves from being in a place where, one, their contractor is just adding on a bunch of change orders, or two, they just didn't properly budget and didn't give themselves enough cushion for when things happen?
Yeah. So you definitely have to build that in. It's hard to backtrack, but it feels great when you built it in from the beginning. So definitely have I say 10 to 15% contingency in case something goes wrong, in case a contractor, doesn't do his job and you have to get rid of him, or in case there's a surprise on the project. With remodeling, there's just so many monkey wrenches. There's so many things that can go wrong. There's so many things behind the walls you don't know, especially the age of the house, or a lot of other issues that could come up, and you need to plan ahead of time. And let's say, hey, you didn't plan ahead of time, then you have to figure out what you're going to cut back on. So you're at this point right now, what can I cut back on to get this project done? And the objective here is to make a profit. We don't want to just do this just for a learning lesson. We don't want to do it just to break even. We want to make a profit. So how can we do that? And a good way also not to let the contractors get too far ahead, too many change orders, is to stay on top of them. I like to say do daily updates, whether you can make it to the property or not. Have that contractor contact you every day and discuss what they got done per the schedule that we created before, right? That they agreed on. And we have to keep them accountable. And I also say do a progress evaluation. So weekly, have a more of a formal, okay, let's sit down. Where's the project? We're here at the budget. What can we do to get back on budget? What can we do to save more money? If we're on budget, what can we do to even do better as we move forward? Let's always try to optimize as we're going along. Not wait till it's too late. Now wait until we have, the fifth change order from a contractor. But as we're going along, step by step by step, let's stay on top of this project.
Definitely. And what I really like about what you went through is just the consistent communication and consistent updates. So when you were talking about how often you update, I'm like, all right, maybe it's gonna say weekly, but you said daily, which I like even more, because I'm just thinking in my own experience and just smaller jobs or whatever, like they're probably not gonna be in a rush to give you any updates because they got probably other stuff going on, other projects going on, and if they could slide a little bit, they will. So I do like the idea of the daily updates and also the progress evaluation as well. Do you recommend this type of process and being on top of it for smaller jobs too?
I do. Just because it'll man, it's a process that you just plug and play, right? So you do it even on smaller projects and you just know the rhythm, the system, you keep it going. Not only that, the contractors that you use become accustomed to this, because we have to train our contractors. Every contractor that I work with, I've had to train on my system. They come in, just want to, come bang walls and, spread dirt, but we need to train them to, comply with what we have going on. We're the boss. We're the boss on the project. Yeah. And so I'd say small projects, big projects, let's do it. Let's keep this process and let's keep it systematized, right? The contractor, call them. There's contractors where I'd have a project, right? And I call them, say, hey, got a new project. They know exactly what to do. They'll go take a look at it. My garage door guy will go take a look at it. Oh yeah, we can keep this garage door opener, but the door, these panels need to be replaced. I can replace some of them, but they'll be different. The whole thing, right? My HVAC guy, he goes out and says, yeah, this unit, we can tweak it a little bit, can probably get through escrow. I can't give you a certification, right? My roofer, yeah, I checked out the roof. Yeah, I just need to repair a couple spots. I'll give you a roof certification. So if we have, a system in place, then it can just be replicated, right, small or large.
Right. Love it. Love it. And so how, you walk me through the journey and everything that has taken place and starting out with the flipping business, working with investors, working in different companies, coming back to business. So can you talk about what the business is doing now, and how that's changed from all the experiences you've had?
Sure. So right now, as far as the excuse me, as far as the investment stuff, right now we're trying to focus on the town we're in, and well, from my wife and I personally, we're trying to focus on the town we're in, and I'm targeting like 25 houses at a time, and so we're just going through there, and our model is that we want to help distressed buyers, of course, not just the wholesale, but we want to find what's best for them in their situation. So for instance, if we can come in and maybe partner with them, remodel the house and then sell it and then split the profit, we'll do that. If we come in and you need to just get out fast, like you just need to go, we can do that. Different solutions like that. I think that, we're now, my wife and I are in the mindset of, really what can we do to help our community now? We're trying to build up our community, the community that I've ran from. You heard the story of me going to Texas, right? But the community that I grew up in, my grandfather helped build, what can I do to help people in this community? And then with the investment firm I'm a board member of, we're in talks right now. They want to kind of expand. So of course they want to expand to Texas. I know Texas is very good, but I'm not moving there. I'm staying here, and I have resources, of course, in Texas. Realtors, contractors, and things like that. But with this company, it's almost similar. Also, so the CEO of his company, he's flipped like over 2,500 houses, 1,000 notes done. He's a hard money lender, all this type of stuff, and he's coming to a point in life where he's like, I just want to help people. He knows he's done some stuff in his past, stuff he's not so happy about, and he just kind of wants to help. And so, as far as that investment firm is based out of Orange County, California, it's almost a similar line of what me and my wife want to do in our just little circle here. They want to kind of expand and do it nationwide. As far as remodeling investment properties, I haven't remodeled investment properties for about 5 years, and I have some guys that are just awesome at what they do. I have some guys that I'm really confident in, and we are probably going to get that going again in Southern California, and then of course in probably Dallas Fort Worth area. But right now I'm really focusing on as far as the remodel side on our platform, REI Remodel, and we're building a club for investors that want to remodel simple. So we're going to have the REI Remodel Club. It's being built right now, and it will be released shortly, by the end of this month. Awesome. So we're scheduled to release on the 24th. And since I said that, we are going to release on the 24th.
You got 12 days.
yeah, it's almost there. It's almost there. It's definitely just the beta version and stuff, but we're going to do that. We're going to have a community. We're going to have a private podcast, newsletter, and a bunch of other stuff coming for this platform. Yeah.
Awesome. So are you and your wife primarily flipping and wholesaling in your area?
Correct. Yeah.
Got it.
Yes.
So talk to us more. I've never heard the strategy of like working with a distressed homeowner, helping them remodel the property and splitting the profits. Can you give us just like how does that work? How do you get a homeowner to agree to that?
Yeah, so instead of the traditional wholesale that we want to kind of acquire your property and you know the whole game, wholesale game, which is an excellent strategy for especially getting into real estate investing. We're coming in as far as helping them put extra money in their pocket also. And so when we come with that angle, they're more open to it. And I think that kind of gives us a little edge. We're taking less money, but we're actually building relationships. And I think it will go a lot further. And we actually did a deal with this investment firm out of Las Vegas. And it was this lady, she was in her 80s, and it was Las Vegas off a golf course and a gated country club community. And the house was just in shreds, total shreds, original inside. And story goes, she burned a lot of bridges, people not caring for her, so she was out living in a hotel. And word came across our firm that she was in this situation. She was behind on HOA payments. Excuse me. Jeez. She's behind on HOA payments. She's behind on a mortgage, of course, and she's just gonna let the house go. So we came in, and it also recently hurt her hip or something. She was in a wheelchair, hurt her hip, and so we actually came in and took care of all the situation, caught her up, all that type of stuff. She able to get her to sign the house over to us, and we sold it and split the profit. And I mean, the profit was like $200K. On that house. Took us a few weeks, and all we did was go in there and clean out the place. We didn't even remodel it. We didn't do any of that. We just went in, got all the junk out, years of junk, original junk from probably the 70s. Wow. and so we were able to help her. And then we also created an account. She wasn't good with money at all, so we created an escrow account that is able to pay for her being an old folks home. So now she's in a retirement home, excuse me, old folks, if you're offended by it, but she's in a retirement home, and we create a escrow account to pay for that. So those are the type of things that, just make my heart feel good, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's basically like an account that, it'll fund whatever her expenses are there and otherwise, so that she doesn't just like blow it all.
Right,
basically.
Right. And there's oversight also. So
yeah.
There's like oversight of her that also has, control of that account to maintain it.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. So many times people think real estate investors, flippers, developers, so on and so forth, are just like greedy people. However, that particular example is just an example of, an example of the opposite, right?
Yeah.
You came in. I mean, if someone like y'all didn't come into the picture, it's possible the house could have went into foreclosure. She would have lost it, and
end up homeless.
Bank would have sold it for what, quarter pennies on the dollar. She wouldn't have nothing in her pocket, and who knows what would have happened. So I think it's commendable for sure that y'all took you all took that approach with her.
Yeah. And I work for this large corporate investment firm, right? This firm, when I was working for them, on average, they bought $5 million worth of property every day, Monday through Friday. And I was part of that. I was asset manager, project manager also, and we kicked people out in the street. That's what we did, and it was really a rigid process, right? It was really an institutionalized process. Okay, we buy this at auction. There's people in there, kick them out. I mean, just like that, right? And so I was able to, really step into people's lives, and not financially or anything, but just maybe emotionally even help them, come out of their place. There's been moments where I was at this one particular property was in Texas, and the father and the brother of the lady came, and they were just kind of irate, like, what happened? How this happened? All this type of stuff. And by the time they left, they shook my hand, like, no, I really appreciate the way you're dealing with this. I just don't know, why she didn't talk to us, right? And I don't know. There's all kind of different issues, right? I don't know what people are going through, financially, emotionally, or otherwise. But I didn't like that process. It was a necessary process. And granted, they're probably in the house 6 months, paying nothing, all that type of stuff. I get that. But the way we're doing it now gives me an opportunity to help them before that happens.
Right. Right. And I like that. I like that because you're taking your experience working elsewhere and quite frankly, seeing things done in a way that you wouldn't have done if you were in control. And
Mhm.
now with your business, now you're bringing humanity back to it, right? You're
Yeah,
bringing humanity back to it. You're allowing people to have their dignity as well.
right,
And
right,
it's beneficial for both parties, So I
exactly.
think that's awesome. And, definitely something that needs to be replicated.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. There's plenty of money. There's plenty of houses. A lot of people think there's a scarcity, but there's plenty. You gotta find them. You just have to build those relationships. And like that particular house, somebody just called us and told us about it. There's another house in LA, actually, of Sycamore, same situation. Somebody just called us. And we end up helping that person, move on with their life. Because it's gonna happen. You want something in your pocket or you want to just be kicked out on the street.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen. And sometimes, quite honestly, you have to get frank with people like that. Sometimes you have to let
Yeah.
them know the reality. You can pretend that nothing's happening, and they're going to come. The sheriff's going to come and put all your stuff on that street. You have 24 hours to get it, or we can help you out, and we want to help you out.
Definitely. Definitely. Love it. Love it. So what does the future look like? I know you mentioned the club that you're starting up soon, but
Yeah.
what are you hoping to do, you and your wife in the business this coming year and beyond?
Good question. Good question. One thing I'm actually looking into is tax liens.
Nice.
Um, I come across this gentleman who's been doing it for like 30 years, and he's perking my ear. I'm the REI remodel guy, right? So I want to flip, right? And I want to help others flip. But this is I see this as a good opportunity to get low cost properties, at a discount that can just build over time. So the kind of that buy and hold game, I really want to get into more. And being in California, dollars don't go as far.
Mhm.
And so that's one thing we really want to do. And I forgot to mention also, though, my wife is she's definitely my partner, but she's a realtor and interior designer also.
Oh, that's a perfect
So
match.
man, that's key to the story.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah. So if we ever come back on the show, she has to come with me
Oh
because
yeah.
she's a much better interview than I am.
I won't have it any other way. She's got to come, or y'all not welcome.
Oh, so me alone, I can't come back. No, I get it.
Oh,
That's cool.
I'm joking. I'm joking. That's awesome, man. Have you thought about other states? Because I'm
Oh
sure
yeah,
you figured
yeah.
out and obviously you've lived in other
Mhm.
states, but have you thought about expanding the business to like other markets?
Yeah, I know investors now from all over the place, and I consult some investors in different states as well. And I think it would just be easy for me to just kind of go join them, help them with the project,
Right.
whatnot, and just scope it out myself. But definitely the first place we're going to go to expand is Texas. Um, I know Texas, really. I know Texas. I mean, over the whole metroplex, drove every inch of it. So that'll be next. But yeah, definitely other places. But especially with this tax lien business, we will definitely just go where the deals are.
Right.
We will.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, definitely. Man, it's been a really dope interview. I'm just thinking about the beginning when you were talking about just your upbringing, just being able to grow up around your grandfather, around your
Mm-hmm.
dad, who were in the
Yeah.
real estate business,
Right.
contractors, builders, real estate investors, landlords, and the whole nine. So I
Yeah.
think it's really cool to see it come full circle, right? You of
Yes.
course had your own life
Yes.
experiences,
Right.
and you came back to it, right? And I
Right.
think it's just been interesting to see your growth throughout the industry and the different things that you've
Mm-hmm.
been able to do. So I'm sure they're
Mm-hmm.
proud that you and your wife are, or they would be proud that you and your wife are carrying on that legacy.
Oh yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. And just a side note, my grandma is 92 now.
Mhm.
She's 92, and the real estate that my grandfather amassed is still taking care of her 9 years after he died. She's sitting
Wow.
comfortable because of him investing in real estate.
Wow. How many doors do you think he had
He had, geez,
or has?
well, they sold a lot off after he passed.
Yeah.
Um, Goodness, I think in his heyday, I don't know, maybe shy of 100 or so. What he did also,
Wow.
he like would buy a land in like in a rental area where it's zoned where you could build multiple units. He'd buy it with their house where there's enough space in the backyard and build like a duplex in the back also. So he'd do stuff like that as well.
Wow.
Yeah. And him being a builder, he bought land, built all that type of stuff. So yeah,
Wow.
Apartment complexes. He built condos, all that type of stuff.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible, man. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you know, the crazy thing is, like, people talk about it, right? The generational wealth, this, that, and the other. And what you mentioned about your grandmother, that's what it's all about. That's what everyone.
That's it.
That's what all of us young folks are trying to do. We're trying to have our significant others, our families comfortable and not have to worry about anything because of the investments that we made. So that's just an amazing story, man.
And that's what I want to do for my wife, right?
Right.
I'm not waiting for anybody to die so I get an inheritance. If I even have one, I don't know, right? But that doesn't matter. That's that example that I saw, I think was more important, not the money that he made. And there's a lot of stuff that he did that I didn't even know. I heard about after he died, other people telling me, just in the city, right?
Yeah.
Last time I moved back, just people coming out of the woodwork, just telling me stories about him. And that just makes me respect him even more, knowing the type of man he was, to not even go around bragging about this stuff. You know, where most people would. They post it on Instagram, right?
Yeah.
But he just kept it to himself because he wasn't doing it for himself.
That's amazing.
He wasn't doing it for himself. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So as we wrap, is there anything else that you want to leave with the listeners? Of course, let us know your website, your social media, where we can find you, where people can purchase your products, all that good stuff.
Sure. So like I said, the REI Remodel checklist, you can get that at reiremodel.com/forms. And the club will be launched soon. So we are going to have a free tier plus other paid tiers for that, you know, have more learning and training and stuff to go along with it. And you could go to reiremodel.club to sign, join up for the wait list. And also a book. I have the REI Remodel Guidebook, the REI Remodel Guidebook. And I'd actually, man, if you have any listeners that want one, I mean, I'll shoot 4 away for free. If they tell you shoot me their address, I'll send them a free book. But also on the club, if you join it, one of the tiers, you get a free book anyway. So you can wait for that if you want. But yeah, that's what I got for you.
Thank you.
And as always, questions, anything, dc@reiremodel.com.
Definitely. Well, if you made it to the end of this show, you have a treat. Just shoot me a DM, let me know, or join the club if you want to take it even further. Amazing. Well, DC, really appreciate you taking the time to join tonight. Definitely a whole lot of great information and inspirational information and practical information as well for the listeners, especially concerning remodeling, working with contractors. That's just a big pain point. So can't wait to put this one out. But yeah, really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Definitely. Thank you, everyone, again, for listening to another episode of the Black Real Estate Dialogue podcast. If you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe, leave us a 5-star rating and review on whichever platform you're listening to this on. Also, if you want to join the Bread Investing community, you can do so for just $1. Go to blackrealestatedialogue.com or click the link below in the show notes. Thank you all again. I look forward to hearing from you all soon. Hi, everyone. Sam here from the Black Real Estate Dialogue. Make sure to hit that notification bell and that subscribe button and to visit us at blackrealestatedialogue.com.